So it's not really time to get spiritual, and we're not going to tell you the ins and outs of Ramadan, but we are going to chat about how you use mobile ethnography on a qualitative basis to try to get closer to something which a lot of people don't know about. How many of you celebrated Ramadan in the room this year? Nobody. According to Pew Research, by the year 2050, there'll be as many Muslims worldwide as Christians. So can you imagine a Christmas in the UK with no Santa Claus, no jingle bells, nothing? That's what it's like for many celebrating Muslims in Germany, for example. And we wanted to know why. And this is our study. This is not financed by anybody. We just wanted to know, why is it the marketing turns its head away to an important group, feels frightened of it, ignorant? What's it about? And can we use mobile ethnography? We're here in a power pack. Antje is our semiotician. So we're not just going to do mobile ethnography, we're going to talk about the power of semiotics to make some sense out of the cultural meaning of what's going on here. So we hope that's not too scary and it's not theoretical, it's actually very grounded. And we also hope that the quality of respondents, so our own panel, is actually slightly better than the very honest opinions we heard earlier on today. Happy Thinking People, what a great name, huh? Hopefully you're feeling happy after I finish, we'll see, hopefully thinking. We did a study the year before, which was ethnographically focused. That really wanted to understand what goes on in these exciting 4 weeks that not many of us know about. What's the real life context? How does it feel to be ignored in a Western society? How does it feel to be celebrated in Morocco, where 98% of your people are celebrating big time? And how does it feel if you're in India, 120 million of you, but you're still a minority? And can we transfer inspiration across the markets? Can we use mobile to get inspiration for R&D, for marketing, for communications, travel across markets? And how do we do that in a culturally sensitive manner, which is why we put up that sort of buzzword, Decode Ramadan Semiotics, what it's all about. And I think that's about it. It was a qualitative study. We talked to a mixture of people in the various countries, different levels of religious strictness, men and women. They were, I think, up till the age of about 40, 45. And it was an interesting one for me because it was a relatively long task. It was 4 weeks. I don't know how many people of you have done mobile qualitative and kept people engaged for 4 weeks. It's not easy. So how do you do that? How do we approach it? What were the challenges? We want to talk openly about that. We had to do it for 4 weeks because that's how long Ramadan lasts. We had to get to the sugar festival to find out what that meant. And before I get hand over to Antje, who will talk about the semiotic analysis, that's how we'll structure it, just a brief sort of introduction. We are in Berlin. This is where our offices are. Headquarters, and there were lots and lots of Turkish people there. It's almost as if you were like being in a society that deliberately ignored an important religious festival. It's weird. It's almost like an invisible feast. Marketing ignores it, society ignores it. How does that make you feel as a person? Kind of sidelined, right? And the examples that we asked people to post, one of the tasks was, when you encounter a brand that makes you feel good during Ramadan, post it. Tell us about it. And I'd call them humble examples. So we had a sort of like a travel agency. That's the sort of like the yellow poster with a half moon, a crescent moon, and some minarets saying Happy Ramadan, like really simple stuff. And then Rewe is a big, big German supermarket. And we'd also noticed that it actually done something, not a big deal, a big promotion of an interesting brand called, and Antje can remind me what it's called. It's a very sweet sort of lemonade.
Udolak.
There you go, it's called Udolak, which you normally wouldn't find in Germany. So they made the effort. And people are like, wow, thank you. So you have maybe 4% or 5% of your population totally ignored, marketing's doing nothing with them, and they're saying thank you for the very small efforts. When we look across Morocco and India, I don't know what strikes you guys when you look at these pictures. Here's Coke, here's a food brand. There are much brighter colors. It's much more emotional. And I'd point to two things. One is this sort of like the half moon, the crescent, done in a playful way. And we'll come to this playfulness in a bit. And the other thing is next to the Coca-Cola bottle are lots of, I'll call them squiggly signs. But actually these are calligraphy, these are arabesques, which have a huge meaning in a Muslim context. But what do they mean? And because we felt it was very important to understand that, we said, okay, here's mobile ethnography, that's proven, it works. But how do we get to a culturally contextualized interpretation of all this stuff coming out? So we're not into algorithms, we're into people understanding. That's why we have a semiotician, Antje. And I will hand over to Antje to take you through a little bit of our reading of what we found out from the science.
Okay, so looking at the codes and symbols of the Ramadan Edzas respondent has sent us, you see that the most prominent sign is the crescent moon. If you see it, it creates a link with the Ramadan, and you especially know it is about the special month. It shows the beginning of Ramadan, being the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. And what the respondent let us know, you can get it wrong. So if you put it in the wrong direction, it already shows the end of the month. And of course, the moon has also a very powerful element because it's a special symbol of Islam itself. The moon has also connotations of time passing and renewal, and this refers to the goals of Ramadan, which is to get more spiritual and social consciousness and to get rid of bad habits. So it's also a kind of personal renewal. We see the crescent moon often in advertising for food and beverages. In this sense, it has another additional connotation, because in Ramadan everything turns upside down, the time of days get new meanings, and the evening becomes, of course, much more important. So when you show the moon and the night sky, it creates a link to the evening fast breaking, the iftar meals. And these advertisings are often connected with a happy Ramadan message, which shows acknowledgement and recognition for those fasting. Another theme that has struck us, we have seen quite a lot of green in the post of respondents that have sent us. So from my German perspective, I immediately think of organic products, of nature. So we have said what is going there on, what is this green is about. And so we learned quite a lot during our analysis about the symbolic color of green in Islam. It is a holy color and has only positive associations. So this is also linked with the fact that the Islam has its roots in countries of deserts and of poor vegetations. And of course there, the green nature is much more valuable than in Western countries. And this can stand for materialistic prosperity and even for spiritual health. So showing or using green in Ramadan communication can evoke many positive associations and underlines the importance of Ramadan as one of the 5 pillars of the Islam. So I show you some examples. This is a post from India. Here in the background you see the green color code, which is used as a kind of banner or flag. In this context, it conveys a national or even political message. This is a website from Morocco. The green is here related with different functions. So on the one hand, green is related to the product quality. It shows the freshness and the naturalness of the product. But there's another green in the Happy Ramadan claim, which underlies that McDonald's is now offering a special Ramadan menu. And finally, this is also a very interesting example because you see a lot of green in this advertising. You see green salad, you see green background, so it refers to the product quality. It refers also to the brand color of Knorr, but it also suggests, because they use the green also for the serviettes, it also suggests the festive and traditional character of the iftar meal. Another more subtle code of Ramadan communication is linked with light. So light is full of symbolic meaning. On the one hand, you have a lot of sacred connotation. In many religions, light is often associated with godness. You can obtain spiritual enlightenment. Light is creation. There's no life without life. And at the other hand, light is also linked with human values like wisdom, peace, and warmth. So here is the post of a Ramadan communication of Coca-Cola. The setting is full of lights. At the one hand, it suggests the festive and warm mood of Ramadan, but it also underlies the close relationship between the grandfather and his grandson. And it can also be a very fun element in advertising. So if you look at this advertising from VW Dubai some years ago, you certainly recognize what is in the headlights. This is again the crescent moon, this time in a very playful and fun way. I want to show you some more examples how brands use traditional symbols in Ramadan advertising. We have seen in some advertisings, in some posts, a lamp called fanus. It is a decoration of Ramadan in many Muslim countries. It's a little bit like Christmas candles. These lanterns are linked with a special mood and with strong emotions, so children love them and remind adults of their childhood. They are, at the same time, they are full of magic, they are linked with guiding the path, meaning of enlightenment, etc. When we done some more research, text research, we discovered this year's Ramadan advertising in Pakistan, where Coca-Cola and Pepsi make abundant use of these lanterns. Can you show the first video, please?
सजरा सवेरा मेरे तन बरसे गजरा अंधेरा तेरी चलती लो रंग रेजा रंग मेरा मन
जो हर अच्छाई रोशनी की तरह चमके तो पूरा आसमान रोशन हो जाए.
Okay, and then have a look to the Pepsi of the same year.
ये नूर राहे बंदगी
And finally, Edward has already mentioned the arabesque. Arabesque are considered as highest art in Islamic culture. They stand for beauty and spirituality. So we have noticed arabesque in some of the posts, especially from Morocco. And we have seen this arabesque element also in advertising for product categories which seem quite far from arts and beauty. And here the arabesque has the function also to evaluate the perception of the product quality. So I hand over to Edward.
So we're all now Ramadan affine. We also asked the questions, which brands do you regard positively during Ramadan in the three countries? And we thought maybe this is just a niche opportunity, and it wasn't. The German brands that people came up with, pretty mainstream. Adelholz, Paulaner, Reichholz, Salz, Kühne, these are all mainstream brands. It's not sort of like tiny things. So it was clear that actually people were looking for brands that gave them a sense of reassurance during a time where the whole rhythms, where breakfast was at 2:30 in the morning, right? And then you have 17 hours of spiritual renewal and a lot of thirst, a lot of hunger and all sorts of thoughts, and they go for the mainstream brands. So for a lot of Western major global companies, it's a huge opportunity. It's not just niche. The shopper perspective, we had one task during 1 week was say, okay, when you're going shopping, and by the way, people shop a heck of a lot during Ramadan. It's not just a time of fasting, it's also about feasting. It's about buying people presents, kids presents. At the end, there's the sugar fest. There's a lot of gifts. The survey we did last year said 30% spent more during Ramadan than normal. So a lot of opportunities there. Anybody know why the date's significant? The dates, does anybody know? No? So, yes, there you go. To you, it's probably obvious. Yes, exactly. For us too, but for many not. So you have to say, okay, just the basics, but it was very gratefully received that even the people that are actually doing something, this is how you break the fast. And it has nutritional values, it's nice and sweet, and it is the tradition to do that. What we also got from the post was that the supermarkets doing this was saying, at least you're acknowledging that we exist, and we're not just a silent majority, at least in Germany as well. And they also said that if you're actually cooking for a family in the evening, make it easy for me. Give me a broad breadth where I can, if I'm tired, I don't want to have to look left, right, make it easy as possible so that I can please my guests, but I don't have to work too hard to do it. Technology. Definitely the role of mobile is extremely important for us in very, very many ways. So the structural aspect, when should you get up? I did this myself. I downloaded a Ramadan app, and I didn't realize what was the noise in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock. I'd forgotten to turn it off. It was telling me to get up. And then you think, okay, this is about people understanding. That's reality. It's time to have breakfast. It gets you a little bit closer. Getting back in touch with loved ones, the reconnection aspect of Ramadan, very, very important. So you're looking for people saying, how can I make this a little bit cheaper? So I don't have to pay very, very long distance calls the whole time. Gaming. How slowly can the clock tick? It really ticks slowly when you're looking at it the whole time, right? You're hungry, you're being spiritual, you need to pass the time. Gaming is a huge opportunity for Ramadan. Online shopping, massive. We had one woman saying, it's hot, I'm tired. Hey, why do I want to go around to some funny drugstore or supermarket that's not catering to mine anyway? I can do it online. And finally, the reason I put the lipsware is there are plenty of temptations online. And they said, however this came up, I have to click away quickly, just in case the pop-up comes and I come to bad thoughts. So interesting that the whole technology thing is being used in a positive sense, which was interesting for us as a mobile perspective. Packaging cues. If you're in fast food, this is obviously very, very relevant. There's no point getting a mouth-watering offer that's not halal. It really makes people very frustrated because you want it, you have the craving, it builds up during the day, and I think, okay, I can't have it. Or if you can't see, how are these Haribo things made? Are they halal or not? Is it gelatin? What's it made with? You have to make it very easy. And these were things that came from the posts. They're saying, okay, tell me, is there alcohol in this? Can I make is there alcohol? Just make it easy. Otherwise, you build frustration up quite easily. So packaging is really important. And then we read a lot about corporate responsibility programs, but maybe these 4 weeks are particularly important to say, well, you become part of a sort of a mainstream, at least in Morocco mainstream, but part of something which is very important. If you say, well, we can be part of helping the less fortunate, whatever it may be, giving, doing something. Who are the less fortunate? Can you do something? And brands can become part of that, and I just chose one, which was this orange juice manufacturer. And I think this was from Morocco again. This just shows you how you can, brand values can be close to Ramadan values in a very uplifting way. So we just have a quick look at this.
I wish I could be a superhero. I'd spread good all over the world.
Everyone has the power to spread good.
This Ramadan, show the world your true potential.
What a good deed your children have done.
Yes, they're my heroes.
Tang, the true taste of Ramadan.
You can also be a hero and spread good.
Tell us your story on Facebook's Tang Arabia page.
Okay. So that's kind of like an excerpt of a much larger survey in terms of how mobile ethnography can join up, if you like, with a semiotic analysis. And who's doing this one? You're doing this one, right? Yeah.
Okay, just to conclude, we are very excited about this approach to combine mobile ethnography with semiotic analysis. First of all, for me as a semiotician, working mainly as a qualitative researcher, it gives a highly relevant material because it's 100% user-generated and it's very rich in visual output. We think also that semiotic analysis places a brand in a cultural context, and interpreting qualitative mobile data in this way makes a lot of sense. And with this approach, we had a look at markets with completely different cultural backgrounds, which has given us and our clients a lot of inspiration across geographic boundaries.
Final slide. Keeping people engaged is a real challenge, especially when you're thinking about other things. And we didn't get big into gamification, but one of the tasks that worked quite well was asking people to report on things. If you pretend you're a reporter, and then in pairs, say, interview a friend and pretend that it's kind of like a journalistic process. We use tasks more than questions. We try to avoid using the question why, because we think it's too direct and actually not contextual enough. And what we probably would advise anybody, before you think you're going to do something semiotically, make sure there's going to be a fundus for material, because if we'd have just had this in Germany, it wouldn't have given us enough to talk about, because people didn't post enough. It was just a sense of thirst, of recognition, saying we're existing here too. So in conclusion, and if this was a marketing audience, we think it's actually times for brands to join the Ramadan celebration. It's a huge opportunity, honestly, and it's growing. And in Germany, it's growing by the month. Whether people are frightened of it or not, it's going to be a huge, huge, huge thing. And not even Angela Merkel can stop it. She doesn't want to stop it. So people understanding, we think, can help your brand to become a welcome guest, whether it's the Sugar Fest or the Iftar. And that's it.